Okay, I'm gonna get started now. We might have a couple people come in, we might not, who knows? But thank you all for coming. I really appreciate your time. So my name's Amy Green Dvorak. You might know me, some friendly faces and some new faces. I'm a parishioner here and I'm an educator and realtor for seniors. So a little bit about me. I originally went to school at the Cleveland Institute of Art and I taught classes there. That's where my education background comes in. And then I became a realtor and I missed teaching, so I kind of wanted to bridge those two. So I thought about what I could teach for seniors, and scams was the most important thing. I do a couple other seminars, but scams are the most important. Everyone needs to learn about them. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them throughout, or you can jot them down. I left some papers there for you to take some notes if you want to, and then if you can please sign in if you didn't, and there's also a questionnaire at the end for you guys to fill out. All right, and this is my dog. She's my model and my assistant, and then my husband's here too. He's assisting. He's the videographer this evening, this afternoon. All right, so scams. Scammers have figured out countless ways to cheat people out of their money, and they've been around forever. They've just changed a little bit. So in person, over the phone, through the mail, and in some cases, they'll act really friendly and helpful, and in others, they might threaten you or try to scare you. So I define a scam as someone trying to trick you into giving them your money or your personal information. They might do it by pretending to be someone that they're not, like a police officer or a government official. They may also try to make you feel sorry for them. Technology and the internet opens a world of new connections and opportunities, but it also can connect you with scammers. Cell phones, also known as smartphones, are mini computers, and they're connected to the internet at all times. The pandemic really sped up technology and internet usage. Everyone needed to quickly adjust and learn how to use Zoom and telehealth, and it was really great, of course, because it was keeping everyone safe, but it was also very rushed. And there was really no time to learn how to use technology or even go to the library to take a class on it, or learn how to install antivirus software. And you also don't know what you don't know. And since everyone else is using it, it must be safe and pretty easy to use, right? You know, you see people using it and you're like, oh, they're using it. They must know what they're doing. No, they don't. Even young people, they'll act like they know what they're doing, but they don't always know what they're doing. And they don't always want to learn either. So technology has changed the way we do almost everything, from the way we communicate, the way we receive information, to the way we shop. The way people begin their home search has always started online, and how homes are sold. The way scammers can get your information and communicate and trick with you can be done online or on our cell phones. Technology is a powerful tool that can be used for good or for bad. It's important to be aware of the risks of technology and the internet so that then we can use it safely and responsibly and protect ourselves. My favorite slide: the internet has no rules, no laws, and it is worldwide. Anyone, anywhere can put anything on the internet, and really everyone can get anything about anyone on the internet. Even if they have the technical knowledge, they can definitely get it and get more information. So the most important thing is user behavior. That's why it's so important that you guys are here learning this, because that's really the best way to stop scammers, is just to be educated and knowledgeable about what to do and what not to do. And so there are efforts to try to prevent scams, but there aren't enough of them, and there are limits, and there's no 1-800 number. So again, user behavior is the most important. Just like power tools, like I taught classes in enameling and metalsmithing. So we were using power tools, hot torches, and kilns. So it was really obvious that we had to be safe, and it was more obvious, oh, this is like really dangerous. Hello. Hello. It was really obvious that it was dangerous. You know, you see a hot torch, you don't want to go near it, but the internet is not so obvious, but we should really treat it the same way. Who are scammers? They are criminals and skilled professionals. Some of them are part of organized crime circles or crime syndicates, and they're usually career criminals who really practice their craft, and they're very, very good actors. So never be embarrassed if you have been scammed or if you fall for a scam or maybe kind of halfway fall for a scam. It's not your fault falling victim to a scam. Also, never judge someone else or make them feel bad for falling for a scam. That's my big thing, because they get at you in so many different ways and they can be so complex and confusing that it's really easy to fall for a scam sometimes. Instead, just educate them and support them and just let them know you're there for them. Scammers target everyone, as you can see from the graph. Hello.
Hi.
So they target everyone. 60 and older is often targeted just because you have more money, not as familiar as what's possible with scams and with technology, and you're more generous and more trusting. Like, I know for me, I always think, I'm like, well, I would never do that to someone, so why would someone else do that? You just are nice, and you just assume that people aren't going to do something like that. So along with this graph, the statistics, so it's called the Internet Crime, the FBI Internet Crime Report. It's the IC3.gov, which I'm sure so many people know about. No one knows that exists. That's where you can report a scam if you do get scammed, but no one knows that's there. So just in America, from 2023, because they don't have the statistics out for 2024, just in America, we lost $10 billion last year in scams. And those are only the reported scams. So it's really important to report a scam no matter what happens, because what happens sometimes is they don't always have the funding to go after the scammer. So let's say if the same scam happened to like 30 people and it was over like $1 million and they were in different states, but they all reported it to the police, then the police might get enough funding to actually go after the scammers, but it's only until it's a certain number and certain amount. So it's very important to make sure that you are reporting the scam, or if you know someone who's been scammed, just tell them to report it to the police, and then the police will direct them if they need to report it anywhere else. Very important. But another reason why it's hard for them to catch the scammers is because sometimes it's out of their jurisdiction. So they're not, sometimes they are local, but sometimes they're not. So it could be someone overseas and then they're just getting your money, taking it overseas, and it's out of the FBI's or the police's jurisdiction, so they can't do anything about it. So how do scammers reach you? Through your home phone, your cell phone, direct mail, email, on TV, and in person. In-person scam example is like a contractor scam, where maybe a contractor knocks on your door and they're like, hey, I was just doing work over down the street and I have some extra material. Do you want me to do some work you need on your house? Don't do that. It's much better because you don't know this person. Just because they knocked on the door and they said that, you don't know if that's true. I've had people where the person took the money and they did a little bit of the work and then they never showed up. So just always double check who you're working with. Make sure that it's a legitimate source, that they give you legitimate information. On the TV, scam example is like investment scams sometimes. So if you're operating a TV, if you're in charge of the TV, a specific station, a specific channel, and you need to fulfill all these commercials, someone's willing to pay you money to put their commercial on, they're going to take the money. They're not going to double check with, is this a legitimate business or not? Like, they don't really care. They're just going to take the money and put the commercial on. So something to just be aware of. Not saying that all commercials are illegitimate, but just be cautious. Make sure you do your due diligence and double check and make sure it's a legitimate company. Because also I feel like the TVs, the commercial space is much more affordable nowadays because there aren't as many people watching TV and there aren't as many people wanting to do commercials. So like I've seen some commercials where I'm like, this doesn't even look like a professional video. Looks like someone just shot it from their like iPhone, but it's on TV. So just don't believe everything that you see. So scams come in many forms, but they tend to make similar promises or threats, and they ask to pay you in certain way. They ask you to pay in certain ways. Sometimes it's through cryptocurrency, gift cards, like those handouts I gave you, which I cover most of the information in the handouts, but obviously it's good for you to have something to take home. Or if you want an extra copy, feel free to take extras and hand them out to people. Gift cards. No one ever wants to actually be paid in a gift card. So that's a big red flag that it's a scam. If someone calls you, no matter what the case, and they're like, you need to pay us in gift cards, don't do it. Don't do it. I know most stores have little little tags around by their gift cards now that say like warning gift card scams. But I mean, there's still plenty of people that will still do it because they think that their family's in danger or something else like that. Cell phones and text messages. Like I'm sure everyone has gotten the link that says, oh, USPS package has been delayed. Click this link. Don't click the link. They're not reaching out to you. No legitimate company will reach out to you and via text message or call you to get that information. And if you do click the link, what can happen is then they can get all the information off of your cell phone. So they can get like your passwords, your login information, and get your data. So just don't click the link. If ever in doubt, just don't click it. Ads on websites and social media is another way scammers can reach you. And then messages from your friends on Facebook or even games on Facebook. So what will happen on Facebook is they will take an actual profile that you know that you're familiar with, and then they'll just duplicate it and copy it so it looks like your actual friend, but it's not them. Like I've had that happen with one of my friends where they're like, oh no, I'm stuck somewhere and I need a bunch of money to get back home. So just be cautious of that. And then also quizzes. So there are Facebook quizzes that come up on Facebook and they ask you like, how many states have you been to? Or what states have you been to? Or what was your first pet's name? So that is basically just information for them to try and guess your passwords. So basically it gets all collected and then it's possible for them to guess your passwords because that's oftentimes what people use for passwords. And speaking of passwords, I used to use LastPass as one of the softwares that you can use to like store your passwords. And then they got hacked. So then I was like, okay, not using that anymore. So I literally write my passwords down unless it's not a very important password. I'll use my like password manager in my phone. But if it's a really important, like my bank login or my Gmail account or something really important, I literally just write it down in a book and I guard that book with my life. It's just a little notebook. That's honestly become the safest. I know my mom, she'll use like a note card to write it on. So that's what I recommend. Obviously, I'm not like the know-all of everything, but that's what I feel the most comfortable with doing nowadays after LastPass got hacked, who was supposed to be very secure. So that's my input on that. So the unwanted calls and text message I talked about. Impersonation emails. So some of the business emails, there are many people that have received emails, maybe some of you, impersonation emails from businesses like Google, PayPal, Amazon, Microsoft. They're saying your account is getting terminated, or one of the streaming services someone mentioned recently, the streaming services, I think it was like Paramount Plus, they were like, we're Paramount Plus, we're emailing you to say that your account's going to be terminated. Always check the email address, the sender, to make sure it's a legitimate email, because oftentimes it'll be like Sue Joe 432 @ whatever.com. So check the email, and oftentimes those companies are not actually going to email you that stuff. They'd rather just charge your account on the auto billing and just get more money for you than terminate your account. So again, don't click links, don't do that. And then you may have heard of phishing, which is a type of email scam. It's a form of email that will ask you for your information. So it'll either ask you for your, like click this link to re-enter your password or re-enter your information, or it'll have you click this link and it'll be a download for malicious software. So those emails, again, just be cautious. I mean, I feel like half my inbox is filled with just spam email. It's really irritating just to be a human, because you just can't exist without getting all these phone calls, text messages, and emails that you never asked for. And there's really no consumer protection, unfortunately, anymore. Testimonials and reviews sometimes can be fake. So keep that in mind. If it's a newer company or a company that you're not sure of, like even like everyone probably have heard of that Temu company, to buy stuff like very cheap clothing you could buy, but like it's cheap in material sometimes. It's also really cheap in price. So you're like, ooh, this is a really good deal. Sometimes the reviews on that, they can be fake. You know, it's not a legitimate company that's been around for a long time. So be careful what you buy online. Like Pampered Chef, great example. That's a legitimate company. It's been around for a long time. Same thing like Tupperware and stuff like that. So just be careful of that. And let's see. Impersonation phone scams and family scams. many of you might have heard of the phone scams where they either say that they're a government official or they're Medicare. Someone recently told me with the Medicare will never call you and ask you for your number, for your policy number. So never give up your policy number to someone who calls you. They'll never do that. And then the government impersonation or like the police impersonation. Sometimes people will call and say, there's a warrant out for your arrest and you did all these terrible things and and they'll come up with like the story to the nines. So just be aware and be cautious, and also share any of this information with your friends and family that you know, because it's really important for us to have an open dialogue about this and be aware, because you never know who might be possibly a victim for a scam. Charity scams are also a thing. You'll have sometimes the charities call you or say that they're with a certain organization. It's better just to hang up and look that company up online or something and find their actual phone number and call and see if it was actually them. I first want to talk about romance scams. Romance scams, those are really big scams. They can last either for, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but that's fine. They can last from 6 months to like 2 years. And the romance scams, they can start where the people are online. Maybe you meet them on Facebook or on a dating site and you talk to them, get to know them, and then eventually they want to move off of the dating site, which is less secure. You don't have a record of you conversing with these people. And they will fake profiles of all ages. Sometimes they'll use photos of other people, or sometimes they'll also say that they're in the military. They'll study your information. And like, even if you put a photo of yourself online, but it's in your home and you have like a plant or like certain books, they'll use all of that to then try to connect with you and try to get interest. I'm like, oh yeah, I love plants. I'm a gardener too. So just be cautious what you put online. And then eventually they will start to ask you for money. And sometimes even the romance scams will then turn into an investment scam. So then they might say, oh, I'm making a lot of money in this investment. Like, why don't you invest some money with me, or invest some money here? Go to this website and do that. If you have not met the person in real life, don't assume that that person is real. I'm going to talk about that more in a minute here. Cookies. Most of you have probably seen the cookies pop up. You go to a website and then there's a little pop-up. Do you want to accept their cookies? So what the cookies are is they're little text files that websites save to your browser, and they can contain data about you, which means like your location of your computer and your actual computer, like your IP address, which is associated with your computer. And then they also follow you around on the internet to where you go, and other websites you go and search. Sometimes it can be helpful, like when you type in, oh, I was searching for something, and it just automatically comes up. But sometimes it's not helpful, because then you'll get targeted ads to you. So you'll notice then, oh, I'm getting all these ads. I was just looking this up online recently. Why am I getting these ads? That's why you're getting those ads. Or if you get them on Facebook, that's another reason why you would be getting those ads on Facebook, is because the little cookies are following you around everywhere.
But are cookies scams?
Cookies are not scams, but it's just a way for them to get more information, and it could always potentially lead to a scam, because it's just more of your information and data is out there. So, and you can deny the cookies. Most people don't know, you think like, oh yeah, just accept them. You accept them to go on the website. You don't have to accept them. You could deny them, or sometimes they'll say like only necessary cookies, and then you can do only the necessary ones that are required. So that's something that's really good to keep in mind, is don't accept the cookies. I'm getting thirsty here. Pardon me.
Have you seen where sometimes you can't get the information unless you do accept it? I deny it all the time, but once in a while,
sometimes
it's pretty legit, but it won't give me the information without.
Yes, sometimes they do make you accept the cookies, and that's really frustrating. You're like, I guess I'll accept the cookies. Like, just hopefully you don't just stalk me now with all this. It's very aggravating. You're like, I don't want to accept this. Definitely. So the internet has changed the way companies can advertise to us. Sorry, I lost my place.
You got a question?
Oh, yeah.
Is it a good idea to delete them when you're on your computer before you shut the computer down?
Yes, you can delete them. You can also set, so this is a little an advanced one if you're familiar with it. So you can go into your computer, your browser settings of your internet browser, whether it's Google Chrome, Safari, Mozilla Firefox. It's under the settings and it says delete browser history and delete cookies is one of the options. And I think you might even be able to set it where it deletes the cookies after you close the browser, but that might just be the browsing history, I'm not sure. But yeah, it is good. And even if you don't do it every time, like try to do it every once in a while. And if you're totally confused at what I'm talking about, don't worry, it's okay. Your computer's like not gonna explode or anything, it'll be okay. You just might get more ads thrown at you. All right. Sorry, I just lost where I was. Okay, here, I found my spot. Okay. The internet has changed the way companies can advertise to us. Ads went from newspapers, magazines, and TV to the ads on social media and news articles, like on Facebook. You can't even get through a whole like news article or page without getting it broken up with an ad. And that's what they want to do. They want to interrupt your train of thought and then hope you're going to click and you're going to buy whatever they want you to buy. Because it's all about buying things, you know? They always want to sell you stuff. And just because it's an ad does not mean it's a legitimate company. Like Facebook ads, people oftentimes, I'll talk about AARP even has advertisements on it. I mean, I thought this website was going to be helpful, and then I was very disappointed because it was the opposite of helpful. It was so cluttered with nothingness and it just ads. It was so irritating. Like, this is terrible. And just pay for AARP. And I'm like, what do you get for AARP? I actually signed up for AARP because they let me, because they're like, I don't care if you're going to pay. That's fine. We don't care how old you are. But it was not very much stuff. Facebook ads. So even though so you could see the sponsored ad there, but as you probably noticed when you're on the internet, on Facebook, the sponsored is very hard to see. You can't really see it half the time, or it looks just like the people's information that is on your feed. And then another thing with pop-ups. You guys get pop-ups a lot of times when you go on the internet, you're trying to scroll, you got a pop-up right in your face, and then you can't find where to X out. I hate when that happens. It's like blurred out, you can't see it, and you can't get out of it. So this is a good online safety tip. Up in your browser, it will say HTTP. It stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. And it's basically the foundation of today's website. All web addresses start with the HTTP. Some of them have the S. The S, think of S as in safety. So a way you can notice that is either seeing the HTTPS or the little lock button. If it's a lock button, that means it's a safe, secure website. So it's safe to browse on and safe and more secure. Sometimes the browsers will show you a little triangle that's red with an exclamation point in it that'll say not secure, but they don't always do that. So that's a good little safety tip.
So you're saying if you don't see the S,
It's not safe or secure. So that means just more of your data and information can get out. Yeah. So the phone scams. Live calls, you get live calls, you get pre-recorded messages. Robocalls are some of the pre-recorded messages, and they're made with an auto dialer that is pre-recorded or made with an AI artificial intelligence voice. So sometimes it can sound very real, or it could sound like someone that you know, like the grandparent scam, where they're calling and they're saying that they're in jail and they need all the money. It only takes 2 to 3 seconds of your voice recording for them to make and replicate your whole voice. So when I tell some people, especially young people, they put way too much stuff on the internet, way too much stuff. And I'm like, you should not be doing that. It's not secure or safe. Also stop posting when you're on vacation. When you're not here, like post it afterwards so people don't know that your home is now vacant. So don't do that. But with the robocalls, it's done automatically. So they're basically able to, like, a giant spider web's able to just call a bunch of people, and that's why it happens so often and so frequently. And then something else is called phone number spoofing, where they will show up like a legitimate phone number, like show up like it's the police station or like another real organization or someone you know. So it's called phone number spoofing. So don't always assume that the phone number on caller ID is accurate and is the actual number. Always hang up and call back if just to be safe, to make sure it's actually that person calling you, because most likely it's not. So the National Do Not Call Registry, we all heard of that. It used to work. It does not work anymore. You could still sign up for it. It's helpful in the sense of you won't get a bunch of sales calls, but it won't stop the scammers from calling you because only legitimate companies follow the Do Not Call Registry, and scammers are not legitimate. So that's why that doesn't really work anymore, and you'll get phone numbers. Like I know a lot of scam phone numbers have been coming to my phone from 216 phone numbers. So you think it's like a legitimate, or if it's 330 or 440, you're like, this is local. Okay, I should answer it. And those have been scams. I've been getting Medicare scams lately, calling me, asking me about my Medicare plan. I'm like, I'm not even of age. Please leave me be.
How do you stop them? We get them all the time.
You don't really. My best advice is just not to pick up if you don't know the phone number. Because, yeah, that's honestly the best. Because if someone really wants to get a hold of you, they'll leave you a voicemail. And then you'll call them back because it's a real person. But half the time I know I'll not answer the phone, and then it's a bunch of like, it's just a blank message and no one's on the other end. So it's honestly better just to not answer the phone and let it go to your messages.
Yeah, they start calling at sometimes 8 in the morning.
Oh yeah,
And
they go
I-
strong like all
I'd
day.
like to stop that because it seems like it's the sheriff's department, they want money.
Yeah.
Everybody like that, but I tell them to quit calling, take us off your list, but they still don't.
Because they're not legitimate.
Exactly, and they don't remove you from the list. It's so frustrating. I know a lot of people have gotten rid of like their home phones because they're like, all I was getting was scam phone calls. Like, well, that is frustrating.
And the problem is if you block the call, then because it's robo, they just pick up another spoof call and you got that same company calling you the next day.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just blocked this one.
Exactly, so you just have a bunch of blocked phone numbers.
Yeah.
You're
Oh,
just,
no, I was just gonna say, if you tell them not to call them, they know it's a real number.
Right, now
exactly.
you just legitimize, they're gonna.
Yeah, and then sometimes they call more.
Yep, or they'll spread that around.
Mm-hmm. It really is maddening.
So that's worse to say that.
Yeah, first to talk to them, first to answer.
Artificial intelligence. Many of you probably have heard about artificial intelligence. I know that's getting more widespread, which is good. It's been around since the 1950s, but now they're really using it with a lot of different things. So the advancements have made it easier for scammers to write those phishing emails, those fake emails, because they can just code a computer program to write those emails, and they don't have to do anything. Also to generate more realistic sounding robocalls and robotexts, making it more difficult to tell if you're dealing with a real person or a scammer, and also to record your loved ones' voices. So just be aware, don't assume that it's real on the other line. So what to do, like we were just saying, ignore the calls or hang up. It's also best not to say anything because then sometimes they can record your voice, which is so hard. I know sometimes I'm like, why did I answer the phone and say hello or say anything? Sometimes good not to press buttons, and don't trust the caller ID, and also think before you click when you get text messages.
Don't say yes.
Yes, exactly. Don't say yes, exactly. So this is an example of a text message that I got from someone in my office. He reached out to me and asked if I was available, and he actually was able to pull up one of my actual like live listings online. So it made it seem even more legitimate that he knew one of my listings. So what I did is I went online to see, I was like, is this guy's real phone number? And it was not his real phone number, so that's how I knew it was a scam. But I really was like, oh my gosh, this is interesting. Like, maybe he really does need my help. And then also, when people ask you to communicate with you through WhatsApp, which is another app, it's like an untraceable app. Don't do that. Don't do that, because that is definitely a scam. And if you don't know what WhatsApp is, that's okay. It's better not to know, because it's not important. Unless someone asks you, just don't do it. So the romance scams, I spoke to you a little bit about that, but something I did not mention is the AI, artificial intelligence, has allowed scammers to also do a video AI. So the person, they can do a video chat with you and make it look like it's a completely different person than them. Like it could be a young 16-year-old and it makes it look like it's this very attractive 65-year-old. So don't assume that the person on the other line, even if it's a video, is real. Basically, if you never met the person in real life, they don't exist. Don't assume that they're real, because if you don't meet them in real flesh, then you don't know if they're real. They might say they live close by, but who knows? They most likely don't. So that's something, again, in the romance scams just really are very pervasive. What was that?
That purchase guy that I'm looking at.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and the romance scams are really like, people have literally lost their whole like homes because of romance scams. They've lost their life savings. And it's because people are lonely. They need someone to talk to. They're lonely, and they believe that it's love. And so it's totally understandable how these people fall for it, because, you know, if you're lonely and you don't have anyone to talk to, and then you think that this is true love, like it totally makes sense how people fall for it. But just be careful. And yeah, once someone starts asking for money, or is like, oh, I want to come visit you, but I just don't have enough money for a plane ticket. Or, oh, I would love to come see you, but my son's sick and I don't have money to take him to the doctor. Or sometimes they'll say they're in the military and that's why they can't come see you. So just be cautious of that. Or if you know anyone who's talking to someone online and it might sound suspicious, like share some stuff that you learned with them. Because, and again, people get funny about the romance scams. They're like really, because they don't want to think that they're like being naive or being taken advantage of. Of course not, but just trying to be cautious and talk to people and share with people. So again, they ask you for the gift cards or prepaid cards or cryptocurrencies. And then sometimes they become really threatening and really abusive too if you don't follow like what they want you to follow. So just take it slow. Take it slow with everything on the internet. We are just more connected than ever. And half the time you have to be connected because, you know, you go to your doctor's appointments, you have to do the mind chart, you have to do all this stuff online, sometimes even the video appointments. So just be careful. Always double check things and make sure you know what you're doing. So some resources. I teach some classes at the Twinsburg Senior Center as well, and I'm hoping to teach classes in the future here, more classes. Like I want to do some tech classes and more scam classes because there's just so much information to learn. It's like never ending, and they come up with new scams every day. And I have 2 more scams that I want to share with you. QR codes. I know they love QR codes in the bulletin, but the QR codes can be scams sometimes. So what they do with the QR codes is like for parking meters, and even at parking meters is the most common, but even at like restaurants, you never know. Sometimes the restaurants, because they did contactless stuff, they want you to scan their menu. Well, make sure that there's not another QR code stuck on top of the original QR code. Because if you scan the QR code, it can get all the information, and it's an illegitimate one, it can get all the information from your phone. So be cautious of that, yes.
How would you even know if it's covered up by another fake?
Just try to see if it's a sticker on top of because usually it'll be on a sheet with the QR, usually it'll be for the menus, it'll be scan our QR code here, and it's usually laminated. So see if there's another sticker stuck on it, or ask them hey, do you have a paper menu or anything like that? Because I know sometimes they don't. They're like, no, we don't. I'm like, okay, thank you. And also not everyone's phones has QR code, has a reader. I know on iPhones, you just open up your phone camera and you're able to scan the QR code and then click a link. But Android phones, and then if you have a flip phone, obviously you can't do that because it's not connected to the internet. So I really just like how our whole society assumes that everyone uses technology and is well versed at it, which some people are, but not everyone is, no matter how old you are, just not always well versed at it. And then another scam is the package delivery. So you get a package delivered to your house, you open it up, and they're like, oh, scan this QR code to see what you get. Don't scan that QR code, you're not getting anything besides all your data taken from you. So don't scan the QR code. There's never a free prize. There's never money. So just don't assume that anything is real. Just be cautious of that. And then when you are checking out, sometimes things just come to me in my, as you can tell, there's a lot of information, so it's hard to cover it all. when you are checking out at a grocery store or anywhere, the most secure way to pay for things is the tap function on your credit card. So if you have the tap function, I recommend using that, because what can happen is scammers will put a fake credit card reader over top of the credit card reader, and then if you swipe your card or insert your chip, they can get your information. So use that tap feature, which really it's like a wave feature, they should call it. It's a little bit more secure though than the other credit card feature.
There's also more encryption in that little.
In that,
Right.
perfect. Thank you. More encryption, so see it's better. So make sure you do that. Do you guys have any questions? Or do you have any stories to share? Yes.
Do you ever use DuckDuckGo for browsing?
Yeah, I do use DuckDuckGo. Yeah, I like that one. That is another web browser. I use the Brave browser, and then DuckDuckGo is the search engine. These are just different search engines and browsers to use. So I use that because it's a little bit more secure and they don't track you as much. So we started using that a couple years ago, I want to say, when we started learning more about all this stuff. So yeah, I do like using that one. It's good. Yes.
I just wanted to share this with all of you, so it never happens to you. I never used to share it because I was embarrassed that it happened to me, and I was stupid enough to,
You're not stupid.
What?
It's not stupid.
I know, but it's stupid to me. 5 years ago, I'm on my computer, and all of a sudden it just froze, and a big message came up saying, call this number, we can help you, blah, blah, blah. So, I just panicked right away, and I called the number. Don't do that. And then, of course, they're like, well, we can help you when free, but then they wanted a credit card. I said, I never give my credit cards to anyone. He wanted all these things that I wouldn't give him. He goes, well, the only other thing you can give me is an Apple card. You can read me that number. So like an idiot, I went to the drugstore, got an Apple card, and it was $100. And I read it to him, and then instantly my computer started working again. Then I called the original Apple number I had in my Rolodex index, and they said, yeah, you got scammed, never, call any number, just call us first. So it was a big learning experience. I know my son got on my case, but I said, you know what? It's better to be out $100 than
Yeah.
I had another friend of a friend who had someone call and say, your grandson's in jail.
My neighbor.
And we need $2,000 to get him out. So she was smart. She went to her brother's house.
That's good.
Instead of, I guess he was at university. That's what it was. And then her brother said that's a scam. So, but I mean, I just seem like they especially target women, the older, in our upper age bracket. But you just have to be so. Now I'm fabulous. I delete everything. Even my bank will say, hey, we locked your account because of blah, blah, blah. Please click on this link. And so I deleted, I called Chase and they said, report it to phishing. So I did that. And I get Spectrum a lot. I get emails from Spectrum that say, we can't process your payment. Could you click on the link below? So I delete, check my accounts, was paid, it went through, and I went, okay, that's another scam. So, and usually I get them like maybe 5 times, and then sometimes it's like, oh, they figured out, she's a smart one. I don't know, but I'm just sharing because I don't want to say anything after share.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
I've had the grandchild in jail type of thing. Well, anyway, this particular boss is like, this is your grandson. I have no grandson. So anyway, I said, I went on a rant. I said, you're just like your dad. I told your mom now.
That's awesome.
That has happened to me twice, and they don't call anymore.
Oh gosh, that's too funny. I love that you went on a rant to him.
Just like your dad.
I was going to say the other thing that happened to me, same thing where the computer went dark, but they didn't ask for money, but it says to call this number. And I thought, this isn't scam, but I just want to play and see what they're going to do. Well, they're like, well, we can help you, just give us your IP address. No. So click, but I mean, and that was right after I left the company, so somehow they knew that, you know, they
Yeah.
were following employees that left. And I
Oh.
called 3 other people and they had gotten the same thing. I'm like, now this is weird because it wasn't on our corporate computers, it was on our personals. But we
Oh,
all had just, lost and taken retirement packages. So somehow, some list got out to somebody and
Wow.
they're coming after us.
That's
But yeah, so don't ever, you know, unless it's somebody that you know and you've called a help desk who's gonna help you,
Mhm.
you don't ever wanna give any IP information.
It's almost
Yeah.
scary anymore, really. You know?
It is. It's really
Like
sad.
even if I click on like Aunt Taylor Loft, if I click on something, again, this is cookies, just to look at it for about the next 3 or 4 days.
Yeah,
Hey,
dance.
we saw you looking at
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you can't just
Like
exist and enjoy looking at things or like perusing because then you just get bombarded with ads trying to get you to buy stuff. And you're like, I just want to look at some stuff. I don't want to really buy something all the time.
That's where DuckDuckGo comes in.
Yeah, DuckDuckGo is helpful. Yeah.
It helps.
So if you need a new browser, DuckDuckGo is a good one.
My daughter and her husband were scammed. The one where they call and say you're gonna get arrested if you don't pay this money by a certain. And I can't even believe they're both very educated and they both
Yeah.
fell for it. And you would think when she went to the bank, but she actually in the long run, she did get her money back through the Attorney General's office.
Oh, good.
It took her a few years. But I mean, of all people, I can't believe she fell for this. And her husband was at work and she's calling him and he's working. It was crazy. And I said, and they talked to, I mean, you hear about it on the news. They'll
Yeah.
never call you and
Yeah.
say, I forget what it was for tax. It might have been taxes. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, the sheriff was gonna come to her door and arrest her.
Mhm. Well, and they like catch you off guard because you don't expect a phone
Right.
call to come in ever. And then you're like, oh my gosh. And let's say like you're really busy in the middle of doing something, or maybe you're just like really sad or like down that day. And then that little thought of, oh my gosh, what if this actually is happening scares the bejeebies out of you. And then you're like, I better do this or else something terrible is going to happen. And another sign is they won't let you get off the phone some of the time too. That's a big
Yeah, they
sign that
would,
it's a scam.
Is Firefox safe as a browser?
I feel like Firefox is pretty good. I use Brave, like I mentioned, that's like a good secure browser. And again, I'm not like the know-it-all of everything, but that's just what I found to be the safest. And you don't get as many ads thrown at you, and there's not as much tracking of you if you use the Brave browser. And then DuckDuckGo is like the search engine that you then would use with it.
You know, we have a service that a company that if we have any questions or problems or if we think it's a virus, it doesn't cost that much a month to have them monitor you. And then if you have a problem, they call you or we call them and they can get on the computer with us
Oh, nice.
and look at everything. So people that aren't real techie like us, would be beneficial for them to do something like that.
What's the name of the company? I'm just
It's
curious.
called Weldon PC. WELDON PC.
Okay.
They've been our for years now.
Now,
It's
do
on
they
my-
also work with you on your cell phones?
No, not cell phone. Yeah, I don't know.
It-
Good question.
That is a good question.
Because almost everything is going to the apps. I mean,
Right.
Yes.
The millennials don't even have computers.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a question for you. I mean, I always have a VPN on my computer, but I don't always have a VPN on my phone. You know,
I
if
usually-
I'm traveling international, I put it on.
That's good. I usually try to put a VPN on. A VPN is called a virtual privacy network. This is like the scam advanced class. If you don't want to pay attention to this, totally fine. Some of your phones have an automatic VPN. Like I think the iPhones do have, you could set it to an auto VPN. It just helps protect your IP address. So which is basically like your computer's fingerprint or like your iPhone's fingerprint. Which then has like the information of where you're at and where you're located. So if you want to do that, that is a good thing to have. Like I said, I usually do keep it on my phone just because it's nice and easy to do it on like auto.
Imagine the Samsung has that same thing.
Probably, but some websites do not let you go on their website if you have a VPN on. I've been to a couple where they're like, nope, we can't let you go on our website if you have a VPN on. So. Yeah, it's interesting. It's wild. I think I was gonna say something. Oh, if you have an Apple phone or any Apple devices, the Apple Store does offer like free classes too. So you could always like schedule, and you schedule an appointment there and you can go there. And then the Twinsburg Library does offer some one-on-one like technology sessions. But they do have sometimes like a long wait. I actually was just talking to Laura from the library and was like, I would volunteer to help out. So sometimes it's like a couple of months out, but it's worth it because then you can just learn how to use the technology better and safer. So that's another good resource. So thank you guys all so much for coming. If anyone else has anything to share, I'm not cutting you guys off, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope you all learned a lot. And like I said, take any more of those handouts. Even sometimes the one says that it's like for kids, teaching about kids being online, but it's really for everyone. But you could give it to your grandkids. You'll be teaching them something, your kids or grandkids, about being online, because they don't know how to be safe online either. They'll act like they do though.